What's up, guys? Coach Grant with First Down Training. And today we're going to be breaking down 3 wide receiver top of the route moves that you guys can use against zone coverage, off man coverage, and against press man coverage. So I hope this video helps you guys out. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to improve your skills this offseason and you want to come out and train with us, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get info on our 6 off-season training camps that we are going to be doing this year. We are traveling out to Atlanta, Georgia. Then we're going to be coming out to Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those 6 states or would like to travel out with us and get 2 whole days of training throughout the course of the weekend, check out that very first link in the description below, you guys. Again, it is 4 hours each day of training, so it is a ton of reps. It is a ton of work. We'll have DBs out there for you guys each day to work on one-on-ones and half-line concepts. And also, fellas, spots are limited to only 10 to 12 guys per position group. So it's a small group atmosphere where we can get better and actually coach you guys and teach you guys. It's not like one of those camps where it's a waste of time and we're just running you through drills. So again, if you're interested, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you out to one of our camps. So now the first move we're going to be talking about, we're mainly going to focus on the mechanics of a rocker step, but the first move is a rocker step. Okay, so this rocker step is great because after we show this example, we're going to show how you can use it in press coverage as well. Now, at the top of the break here, I'm going to play this thing full speed. A rocker step is essentially a double step at the top of any route where you do like a speed cut. So that would be like an out route, a post route, a corner route, or a dig route. I don't like it on a slant or like a 5-yard out just simply because those are short routes and you don't necessarily need a rocker step on those in most cases, but I love them on those 4 routes at the top. So you want to make sure with this rocker step, it's a double cut like we said. So you want to make sure that we are stepping to the side that we are going first. So if I'm running an out route here, I want to make sure that I'm stepping to the outside first. So when we come up to the top of the route, it's got to be 2 solid steps. You see how this wide receiver, when he goes into this move, it's a 1, then a 2. Those 2 steps sell like we were doing an inside move. The whole point of the rocker step is to sell a dig route, to sell a post route in this case. Or if you were doing a rocker step and running an inside route, you'd be trying to sell an outside breaking route. So that's why you step in the direction that you are going first. So this is for a lot of wide receivers that have a lot of speed cut routes. If you run a lot of posts, you run a lot of corners, you could add this rocker step just to build on your routes and just to give you a little bit more creativity. Now, the thing about this rocker step is that it has to be in full stride. A lot of wide receivers, what they'll do is when they do this double cut is they'll take super choppy steps into the break. They'll kind of prepare for the break, slow themselves down. All that's going to do is slow the DB down. At the end of the day, every single route, whether it's a 5-yard hitch, whether it is this like 10-yard out route like we're looking at here, you have to make sure that we're selling vertical. And as soon as you start to chop your stride, as soon as you start to slow down and prepare for this heavy move that you're going to do, that puts the DB on alert. We have to make sure that I maintain my full stride. So when I'm going into this, I got to make sure that that cut is sudden. That first cut has to be sudden. I'm shooting it into the grass, into the turf. And that first cut, you use that explosion to push off of that cut because we have to sell the inside move. So I have to push off of that first cut, throw my hips, throw my shoulders to the inside because that's what that DB is supposed to be looking at. That DB in man coverage, where are his eyes supposed to be? Eyes supposed to be on the hips. So when you push off of that first cut and throw your hip, throw your shoulders, and step to the inside, that's what gets him to jump, and then that's what can create some separation. Now, after that point, fellas, we got to make sure that we accelerate out of the break because that's what so many wide receivers don't do. So let's play this thing again full speed. So that's a perfect example of the mechanics of the rocker step. So that's the first move that I want you to use. So now we can also use a rocker step, not against zone or off man. We could also use it in press. This is a great move to use when you have to run that out route, dig route, or an out route, dig route, post route, or corner route. But you would use it when you restack. So this is something I highly recommend because it's another way to get that DB to bite on a fake. So what he does here is he gives a release. He's able to restack 1, 2. And you see, sells the outside breaking route and is able to run this post route. So when we go here, again, where are the DB's eyes? Looking at the hips. If he's running a post route, what foot should he step with first? Step with the inside foot first, and that's what he does. So he takes that hard cut, and what does he do to the outside? Throws his hip, throws his shoulder, and he's pushing off of that first cut to throw his hip into the second cut, and that's what gets that DB off the route. That is a textbook example right there of how to run that post route rocker step against press coverage. So rocker step, first move, probably the most beneficial move that you guys can learn because you can use it in pretty much every single situation for those 4 routes that we talked about. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job giving that move, working to restack, throwing that 1, 2 at the top of the break, and selling that outside breaking route. Okay, so now Next move that we are going to discuss is a trigger step. So what is a trigger step? So a trigger step is something that you use on routes like a 5-yard hitch. You could use it on a dig. You could use it. You want to definitely 100% use it on like a stop route, a comeback, or a curl. Those are the main things, but that's essentially when you snap down. But the first step of that is called a trigger step. So we're looking at this route from Garrett Wilson's pro day. I think Garrett Wilson's probably the most explosive receiver in the draft this year. So let's watch the thing full speed. So he does a great example of how this trigger step can get you in and out of a break fast, right? So a lot of people say that he took too many steps right here. Not too worried about that right now. I'm worried about the snap down. I'm worried about the first step of this break. So this step right here, when he hits this, that's the trigger step, where the step that he's dropping his weight on, trying to bring his chin to his knee and dropping his hips, that's the step that we were referring to. So that step is very important because that's what kind of brings you to balance at the top of the route and creates explosion at the top of the route. So for example, like he's running probably like let's count his steps on this. Let's see. So usually off of routes, we work it off of like inside steps, right? So that's his first inside. Then that's his second inside, third inside, and then he hits the fourth, and then the fifth inside is where he's snapping down. So that fifth inside step on this case is the trigger step. So when you guys are training, if you're not familiar with the inside steps lingo that we like to use, that's a great way to help you guys work on your trigger step. So many wide receivers, what they do, and when you get to the next level, this is not how it's played when you're running routes against zone or routes versus air, is they'll run to yardage. So like they'll run like, let's say they're running like a 15-yard comeback. They will run up to 15, but they'll start to slow down at 13. Then they'll sink their hips and then get out of the break. But at the next level, routes are solely based on timing, right? Everything is so technical. Everything is so heavily timing used, I guess you can say. So going off of steps makes it that much better and allows you to keep that timing with the quarterback. So instead of running up to 15 yards, it's expected that you get to 15 yards on your fourth inside step. So if you have your left foot up and your right foot's back, you would step right foot first, then left foot. That would be your first inside, right foot, then left foot, second inside, etc. Then when you hit the fourth inside, that would be the trigger step. So that's what this is, but in this case, it's the fifth inside. So now the trigger step is like where you are trying to generate as much explosion and as much power as you can. When you drop into a break, you want to be violent with your hips because when you're selling fade, we talked about that a little bit earlier, we have to sell fade on every single route. The only way you make a tight change of direction is by doing two things. You have to get low, but you also have to be violent because you need to create explosion, right? So when he drops, that trigger step is a great way to do that. He snaps down, right? And you see how he's dropping his hips. He's bringing his chin to his knee. That's the explosive position that we are trying to get to when you do that trigger step. Now, could he get lower? Absolutely. He could 100% get lower, and that's probably what causes a little bit of a drift there, but you see how there's a drop of the hips and his chest isn't straight up in the air. His weight is going straight down. It is like somebody's pulling a string attached to his chin straight down. That is what we have to focus on. So that trigger step is a great thing to use when you're having to run a comeback, running a curl, run a stop route, or maybe a hitch route, okay? And sometimes a dig route where you snap down. But make sure, fellas, that that trigger step is violent and it is getting me low enough to snap down. And when you guys train this in the offseason, train this by yourself, please go off of steps. When you go off of steps, that will translate to full routes and that will translate to you running routes in full stride, going full speed. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Garrett Wilson selling fade and snapping down to drop his hips while running at that full speed. So now, last thing that we're going to talk about, last move at the top, is going to be a fake throw-by move. So what is a fake throw-by? So a fake throw-by is something that you would use. I really only like this on a dig route, the occasional out route, but those are the only two routes you could use it on, would be a dig and then it would be an out route. And maybe like a 5-yard under route, I would say. You could for sure use it on a 5-yard under route. But essentially what it is when you take the release to the side of the break and you're trying to sell that you're trying to slip back under the DB. So this route is going to be a dig route, like about 10 to 12, and it's with an inside release. And we were trying to sell, like I took the inside release, DB opened up with me, and I'm trying to slip back underneath and run the out route. So we're trying to fake the throw by move at the top of the route. So let's play this thing full speed. So this wide receiver does a great job taking the inside release and then snapping down, swatting the shoulders, and giving that little head fake to the blind spot to get that DB to sit. So this is just another tool that you could have in your arsenal, right? So when you have to run like a dig route and you have to like snap down, in man coverage, it's tough because that snap down can give that DB a little bit of time to recover. So this fake throw by is a good thing to use. just to get him on his toes and just to try to get him to hesitate. So when we take an inside release, very important, again, with everything, we have to sell vertical. Now, we want to make it look the exact same way as a throw by out route. So when he drops into this break, he's dropping his hips violently, swatting the shoulder, he's giving that fake throw by, and we want to give a little head and shoulder fake to this area right here called the blind spot, because that could force that DB. I've seen DBs speed turn out of it. I've seen them open up their hips completely, and that just gives you more space to accelerate out of the route. So what he does here is he snaps down. You see how he gives that little head and shoulder fake to the blind spot right there. All that does is make the DB think he's slipping under, and that can get him to hesitate. So how you would use this on an out route would be like if you took an outside release. Let's say this DB was hard inside leverage. You took an outside release, you snapped down, you gave a little head fake inside then, and then broke back out. I don't like it on the out route because usually an out route is a timing throw unless it's maybe like a sprint out or a play action and the quarterback's got a little more time. But I only like this the only way I teach this is on a dig route. I think there's a lot of other things you can do on an out route to get you space, but it's great on a dig route when you have to snap down and that DB is in man coverage. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job utilizing this fake throw by, then making that DB think out route, and then getting some separation by attacking that blind spot. Make sure, fellas, on that break, we really emphasize accelerating out of the cut. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comments section. We always appreciate the feedback, and you guys really help keep the channel going, so we definitely appreciate it. We read every single comment that you guys leave. And again, fellas, if you'd like to come out and train with us in 6 different states this offseason, we're coming to Atlanta, Columbus, Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, and Los Angeles. 2-day long training camps, limited spots, and 8 hours of training total. Check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.